Hey everybody, it's me, your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and this is my series, Nails in a Coffin, where we learn that with great kills, there must also come great nails. Happy New Year everybody, and welcome to my first Nails in a Coffin episode of 2023. I put 54 episodes of Nails in a Coffin out last year. I wonder if we could beat that this year. Sure gonna give it a try. And by the way, I did make a promise to some friends that if I achieve 500 subscribers by April 1st, I'm gonna do another performance like I did with my Denver the Last Dinosaur dance. I'll put a card up there. And that was the Denver the Last Dinosaurs when I hit 250 subs by my 1-year anniversary on YouTube. So now it's 500 subscribers by April 1st, and I just need everybody's help in reaching that goal. So please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and share this video if you'd like to have a laugh when I do that performance. And by the way, if you are new here, what I do on Nails in a Coffin is I perform a kill analysis on the on-screen deaths in horror movies. I look at the victims' decisions and actions, and if they're stupid, they're only going to get one nail in the coffin. Now, the harder they are to kill and the smarter decisions they make, they're going to get more nails in the coffin, because more nails are, of course, always better. And I go from 1 to 4 nails in a coffin. Just watch, I think you'll get the idea of what I do here, and if you have any questions, just please let me know in the comment section down below. You saw the title of this video, and I am covering my favorite movie of all time, Return of the Living Dead. I've watched this movie so many times, I know just about all the dialogue, word for word. So to start off 2023, I figure why not cover my favorite movie. I hope you enjoy it. That should be about all. So let's get down to business and put some nails in a coffin on Return of the Living Dead. Yeah! Starting things off, it is July 4th weekend, and Frank and Freddy are working in the Unita medical supply warehouse. I'm going to count when Frank and Freddy get exposed to the 2,4,5-trioxin, I'm going to count that as their deaths, because they pretty much are dead from that point. So Freddy is a new hire at the Unita medical supply warehouse, and like I said, he and Frank are working on July 3rd, wrapping things up before the 4th of July weekend, buddy boy. Frank is telling Freddy about the barrels of 2,4,5-trioxin that are stored in the basement due to an army screw-up. Now, in a novel I found really interesting, it's actually not a screw-up. Those barrels of 2,4,5-trioxin were actually sent by the KGB so they could be accidentally opened and cause harm to the U.S. Frank takes Freddy down in the basement to show him the barrels of 2,4,5-trioxin. They go down there, and Frank opens the lid to show Freddy that there are, in fact, bodies in there. He cleans up the glass. Freddy's like, oh my god, there really are bodies in there. Then Freddy asks, hey, do these things leak? Of course they don't leak. They're built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And Frank slaps the barrel. Guess what? It springs a leak, blasting Frank and Freddy in the face with the gas. And as far as I'm concerned, these two men are now dead. Let's nail Frank first, and I'm going to give Frank one nail in the coffin. Bert did tell Frank not to go down there and mess with the barrels.
You did what? You opened it, you stupid moron, you idiot. What's the matter with you, Frank? Haven't I always told you never to even go near those goddamn tanks?
He still went down there and slapped the side of a rusty, corroded drum that he knew had toxic materials in it. And Freddy even asked him, hey, these don't leak, do they? And yeah, Frank made a dumb decision, costing the life of a few thousand people by the time the night is over. But we can't nail all those people. We can nail Frank, and this movie really was all his fault. And yeah, as much as I like the character, he was a fun person, but he was stupid in his decisions. So Frank, first nail in his movie. You're getting one nail in the coffin. Freddy's going to do a little bit better than Frank with the nails, and I'm going to award Freddy 2 nails in a coffin. I didn't see him do anything stupid or wrong. You know, he got a job at the medical supply warehouse because he wanted to get his life in order, and he was working hard. All he did was follow Frank into the basement to see something that he thought would be cool. He even showed concern that, hey, these things don't leak. So he had some smarts in him. So yeah, this really wasn't his fault. It was Frank's fault. Freddy was, you know, the poor victim of circumstance, and he's going to go with 2 nails in the coffin. Next to die is suicide. The gang of punks were caught outside in the acid rain, which was a result of Frank and Freddy and Ernie and Bert burning the yellow corpse from the beginning. The smoke got into clouds, caused acid rain, brought all the other, undead back to life. So these gang of punks got caught in the acid rain. They go to this medical supply warehouse to get out of it since it's burning their skin. Once they get inside, they hear Tina screaming down the basement, and because she was trapped down there with Tarman trying to get at her brains. They run down the basement. Suicide is the first one down there. And then he sees a chain attached to the locker doors. The doors fall down. He goes, WTF. He pulls down a dirty curtain, gets a surprise from Tarman. Tarman sees Suicide, says brains, grabs his head and chomps down on it, cracking his skull open fairly easily and eating his brains. Here's Suicide. I think he earned himself one nail in the coffin. As soon as he saw the chain pulling the door off the locker, he did exclaim WTF, and he pulled the curtain down. I think he forgot he had reflexes. He didn't move at all when Tarman grabbed him. You know, these zombies are no stronger than anybody else. In fact, they should be kind of weaker with their deteriorated muscles. But Tarman pretty easily grabbed Suicide and just chomped on his head. Suicide forgot he had arms. He didn't push away or anything. He didn't. Normally with the reflexes, somebody's grabbing at you, you're going to have a natural reflex. Suicide didn't have any of that. He didn't have put up really much any fight at all. So when that happens, you're a dumb victim like that. You're only going to get one nail in the coffin. Trash is next to die, and she, of course, is played by Scream Queen legend Linnea Quigley. Suicide was just killed, and now Tina and her friends are running back towards the graveyard to see if they can go find Freddy. It's storming now, and the graveyard is flooding. The group gets split up right as the undead are climbing out their graves, looking for a party. Tina, Scuzz, and Spider make their way to Ernie's mortuary. Casey and Chuck go back to the warehouse. Trash, she was by herself, and then she trips in a large puddle. And as she's trying to get herself back together, she's swarmed by a bunch of zombies, and they kill her, but they really don't eat her because she comes back later. But they do kill Trash. Now, as much as I love Trash in this movie, I'm going to have to give her one nail in the coffin. I know she was terrified and frantic, but when she fell in the puddle, she was kind of slow to get up, and it even looked like she was cleaning the mud off her hands while she was in the puddle. By this point, she knew people were coming out of the ground to come after them. And when she was being surrounded, she didn't put up any fight. She just cowered into a small ball while she was swarmed by the zombies. And Trash died in a way that she fantasized about, being swarmed by a bunch of old creepy men. And she did die with one nail in the coffin. While all this craziness was going on, 2 paramedics were checking on Frank and Freddy. And the paramedics say, hey, these 2 have no signs of life, but they're up walking and talking, so they're not really dead. They're going to go get the stretchers, put them in an ambulance, and take them to the hospital. When the 2 paramedics get outside, they hear people screaming in the storm. Jerry goes to call that in, and George goes to the back of the ambulance to get the stretchers. Jerry was in the front of the ambulance about to call in, and then he turns on the headlights. He sees a group of zombies just standing there. Then one of them opens the door, grabs for Jerry. Jerry jumps out the other side of the door, only to be swarmed by more zombies, and he is killed. I'm going to give Jerry 2 nails in a coffin. Once he saw the zombies in front of the ambulance, he was immediately attacked by them, and he didn't even have time to process what he was looking at, let alone try and defend himself. He had no idea these were undead creatures coming to get him. He just saw that he was being attacked by people, and he was gravely outnumbered, and I didn't see anything else he could have done that could have saved him, and I didn't see him make any stupid decisions per se. So, Jerry, you're going to rest with 2 nails in the coffin. His partner, George, quickly dies after him. When Jerry's in front of the ambulance getting killed, George kind of heard the commotion, and he went to go check on the noise. When he moves the back door to the ambulance, he's confronted by a horde of zombies as well. He tries to run, but just like his partner, he was overwhelmed and killed with his brains eaten. George was killed in a very similar manner as Jerry was, and it should come as no surprise. He's also going to get the same nail rating with 2 nails in the coffin. There just wasn't much he could have done once he saw the zombie standing in front of him. He turned and tried to run, only to be surrounded by numerous zombies. And again, he didn't make any stupid decisions. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And when that happens with the victim and they don't stand much of a chance of survival, even to fight, they're normally going to go down the middle and get 2 nails in the coffin. All hell is breaking loose around the mortuary and cemetery. Dispatch is trying to get hold of the paramedics since they haven't reported back yet. And one of the zombies, as he's munching on some brains, he hears this, and we get one of the best and most quotable lines in this movie.
Come in dispatch. Send more paramedics.
Now, what I really like about this, what makes Return of the Living Dead stand out, is these zombies are actually smart. they retain their intelligence. They're able to strategize and set traps. Now, this wasn't the first zombie movie to do that. I just think this movie did it exceptionally well, and it makes Return of the Living Dead stand out above other zombie movies. He wanted more paramedics. Well, asking, ye shall receive. Eventually, 2 more paramedics arrive behind the mortuary. They get out of their ambulance, and they see Jerry's body on the ground. They rush over to it to go check on it, and they're swarmed by over a dozen zombies. They're swallowed up by the horde and are killed. As you know, when a victim is given a 0 chance of survival, I'm going to give them 2 nails in the coffin. And that's what I'm going to give these 2 men. They had no idea what they were walking into. The only call they received was, send more paramedics. You know, these zombies, they were hiding, and they're fast, and they pretty much just set up a trap. These paramedics were in the wrong place at the wrong time. There wasn't much they could have done to defend themselves. They're both going to get 2 nails in the coffin. After the additional paramedics were killed, some other zombies were trying to break into the storage room. Bert, Ernie, Spider, and Scuzz ran there to stop them and blockade the door. Scuzz, who I found out the actor Brian Peck is a POS pedo, so F him regardless. Anyways, he's hacking away with an axe, trying to, put the barricade back up on this hole in the wall. And his arm is grabbed by a female zombie. He gets pulled outside. Spider and Ernie are attempting to pull him back in, but he's pulled outside, and the female zombie chomps on his head, killing him. Scuzz, you're going to get 1 nail in the coffin. As an actor, F him. He was stupid, but the character, he was stupid regardless. He had a lot of zombie with barely any muscle tissue to overpower him and pull him outside. But if you've watched this scene, it didn't look like he even put much of any struggle. It was too easy for him to get pulled outside. There was only one person grabbing him, and it didn't even look like he was trying at all. No resisting at all. Easy nail rating for me. Scuzz, dumbass, you're getting 1 nail in the coffin. After Scuzz is killed, we see that Trash is now back as one of the undead. She's all naked, and her reemergence was filmed to look very sexy, and who am I to argue? There's a hobo with his shopping cart, and he sees Trash walk out of the darkness from this tunnel. She's walking in a very seductive manner through this cloud of mist, which was left over from the rain. And, he's staring at this attractive naked woman walking towards him. Then the look on his face changes when she gets a little bit too close to him. It's too late. She jumps on him, chopping down on the back of his brainstem, killing him. I'm going to give this hobo 2 nails in a coffin. Normally, I'd give a kill like this 1 nail in a coffin, since he pretty much just stood there. However, I'm going to consider that he was staring at an attractive naked woman, and he was just plain old distracted. He was a hobo, so I'm pretty sure he hadn't seen a real live naked woman in front of him in a very long time. And he did have a WTF look on his face the closer she got, but by then it was too late for him. She pounced on him and killed him. So generous nail rating here with the hobo, giving him 2 nails in the coffin. 2 police officers arrive at the mortuary since now 2 ambulances have not reported back. They get out of their patrol car and find one of the bodies of the paramedics. By the way, it still had brains falling out of its head, which I kind of found odd since these zombies only go for the brains. I don't know if that was part of the trap, because even if you didn't leave brains in there, I think the trap still would have worked. But I'm just nitpicking here. One of the cops has a revolver, the other has a shotgun. They both get swarmed by over a dozen zombies, and they both get a few shots off, but it's to no effect. They're heavily outnumbered, and they're both killed. I'm going to give these 2 nameless cops 2 nails in a coffin each. They were responding to the fact that 2 ambulances had not reported back yet. When they got out of their car, they saw the body of a dead paramedic who was just mutilated, and they each had their weapons drawn. When they were both attacked by the horde of zombies, they each fired their weapons after telling the people to stop. Obviously, they weren't going to listen. They only wanted brains. And the cops didn't freeze with fear, and they reacted as if they believed their lives were in danger by getting shots off. It's not their fault that the bullets were ineffective and they were gravely outnumbered. And I didn't see anything that they did that was inherently stupid that would cause me to give them less than 2 nails in the coffin. We then see a group of about 4 cop cars that I can make out pull up to the back of the mortuary. They were responding because another zombie said, "Send more cops." One of the dead cop zombies lures the cars in to the back of the mortuary area. All the doors open at the same time, and the mob of zombies attack all the cars, killing all the officers. I can see 4 patrol cars with the driver's side and passenger side doors opening at the same time. So I'm going to estimate 8 officers were killed at this moment. Now, I'm going to rank all these cops under 1 nail rating, and I'm going to give all of them 1 nail in the coffin. There was no procedure at all followed when they arrived on scene. They made themselves sitting ducks. They boxed themselves in the way all the cars were so closely parked next to each other. They didn't give themselves any out. No procedure at all was followed, and it was way too easy for them to be so quickly overwhelmed when they, at this point, they knew they were going into a dangerous situation since they got a call for send more cops. So I'm going to give all 8 of these morons 1 nail in the coffin. The movie's getting close to the end, and right now there's a large group of cops at a set-up blockade, and they're all killed by this horde of zombies. But I'm only going to rate the tactical squad captain. I know a lot more died, but this is one that I actually saw on screen. He's on the phone with Bert, who is in the basement of the warehouse with Spider, Casey, and Chuck. Bert is trying to tell the captain what's going on and, what's happening with all these craving lunatics. Then a very large horde of zombies overrun these few dozen cops. And then we see Trash run up to the captain and kill him with a bite to the head. This tactical squad captain earned himself 2 nails in a coffin. The barricade he set up really wasn't effective at all, and I would guess that he didn't have a lot of information to go on as far as the number of infected people out there and what exactly was going on. He only knew that he had lost about a dozen officers. Anybody that went into that area just wasn't coming back, and I don't think any of the reports on what was actually happened made it to the captain. So maybe if he had more information, he could have better prepared himself, and I can't blame him too much for that, and plus he was severely outnumbered. So taking all that into consideration, maybe I'm being generous, I'm going to give the tactical squad captain 2 nails in the coffin. It's pretty easy to say that the crap has hit the fan and then some. Bert hears that the captain and his girl are being slaughtered by the zombies, and then he finally decides to call the number stenciled on the side of the drum of 2,4,5-trioxin. He's then connected to Colonel Glover and tells him everything he knows. The colonel takes down all the info and tells Bert to stay on the line with the sergeant. The colonel then gets on his bat phone and calls in some artillery. They pretty much already had these pre-planned responses. The young airman punches in some numbers on his mobile missile site, and they launch a small nuclear bomb that had a radiation symbol on it, I'm assuming. They launch it at the position of the outbreak, and the remaining survivors that we see are Bert, Spider, Casey, Chuck, in the bottom basement of the warehouse, and Ernie and Tina are in the overhead crawl space of the mortuary. Everything gets quiet for a second, and then boom, everybody dies. Now I'm going to go through these last few deaths fairly quick, so bear with me. I'm going to start with Ernie and Tina. Tina, I'm giving her 1 nail in the coffin. She loved Freddy, but at this point she knew he was dangerous, and she still wanted to be locked in a room with him. He did attack her, like we all knew that he would, and it just wasn't smart. She could have been in a safer place, but she chose to be locked up with someone that she knew was going to come back to life and try and kill him. She was dumb, and I'm giving Tina 1 nail in the coffin. Ernie, I'm going to give him 2 nails in the coffin. At this point, he had a broken ankle and knew the safest place to be was up in the crawl space. He helped Tina get up there so they can avoid Zombie Freddy. And then he was actually about to kill Tina right as Freddy busted into the crawl space. And I'm guessing this was probably to spare her the pain of being eaten. And but if you have seen this film and you pick up on the hints, you'll know that Ernie is most likely a former Nazi, so F that character. But that's not going to put too much weight on his nail rating. I just find it odd that he was actually somewhat heroic at the end of the movie. Maybe he was reformed. I don't know. But Ernie, I'm going to give him 2 nails in the coffin. I'm going to rate Chuck and Casey together since they've been with each other for the second half of the movie. And I'm going to give each of them 2 nails in the coffin. These two really didn't do much in this movie. They just ran and hid from zombies, and I really didn't see them make any dumb decisions with the hand that they were dealt. Casey never really liked Chuck, but they're both going to rest easily with 2 nails in a coffin each. Probably my favorite character in this movie, Spider, played wonderfully by Miguel Nunez.
Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby.
Well, I'm going to nail him next, and I'm giving him 3 nails in a coffin. He was actually one of the bravest people in this movie. He did have a quick breakdown after he saw what happened to his friend Freddy, but Ernie smacked some sense back into him and then he regained his composure. He fought off zombies with Bert, and then he just wanted to help his friends out when they needed him. He helped Bert out of the car after Bert crashed it, and he was definitely one of the smarter and braver people in this movie. Plus, there's just something about his name that's appealing to me. I wonder why that is. Anyways, I feel very confident in giving Spider 3 nails in a coffin. Last but not least is Bert, and I'm going to give him 3 nails in a coffin. He told Frank to stay away from those goddamn tanks. And throughout the film, he's the one who took charge of all the situations, such as, slamming the pickaxe into the yellow zombie's head, chopping up the yellow zombie, calling Ernie, going over to Ernie's place to see if he can use his crematorium, getting to a phone. He knocked Tarman's head off, and he fought through zombies to get to his car. He knew there was a phone, so he can call and get some help. He didn't know that the military would be dropping a bomb on them, killing approximately 4,000 people. So I really can't fault him for that. But he did the best I could with the situation that was presented to him. And I think he did fairly well. And I'm very confident and comfortable with him earning a solid 3 nails in the coffin. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those were all 9 nails in the coffin for my favorite movie of all time, Return of the Living Dead. Here's a summary of all the nails I've awarded. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Nails in a Coffin. Of course, I had a ton of fun covering this movie, and I do have a lot planned for 2023. I'll be covering 2 big franchises, and I also have a new series that I'm going to try and get off the ground, and I may even be asking some of you to help me participate in it. Thanks again for watching, and please hit that subscribe button to help me get to 500 subs by April 1st. If you want to see me perform a famous 80s song that may have you rolling. I have a new Nails in a Coffin out every Friday. Thanks again for watching. And my best wishes to everyone. Hoping 2023 is an amazing year for all of you. MJ and I wish you a happy one. Take care. Stay safe. Stay happy. Stay frosty. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. And remember, with great kills, there must also come great nails.